Hello everybody, good evening on this Saturday evening. This is our lava update for today and all the events that happened today. As far as we have Philip and John. He's back in action. But we had some really good evening at the hub. Sharing some Hawaiian music and some local music with some really good food that was donated by the HCCC guards, all the ACO guards from our local prison here in Hilo. I'd like to say a big mahalo to Clayton Marante, Ricky Masaoka, and all the ACOs and all the guys that have been helping us today. But today we had some new stuff. Ocean entry, as far as for the ocean entry is still pumping. Hasn't even slowed down at all. We see some days it slows down, but when it slows down, it's actually moving more south. So where the area was flowing into the ocean with a huge river, when it's slowing down, it's actually plugging up that river and it's actually moving south. And we've been seeing that quite often. So the lava flows are pretty much moving south, slow, but it's still gradually moving that way. It'll take time to keep on moving, for an extensive period of time. But as far as it moving south, and the only thing about moving south, it's still moving that way, but it's actually further away from Fisher 8 as far as the river wise. So I don't, as far as what I see, I don't see it moving more south, because it's going, the further south it goes, it's actually extending the river more south. So it's actually
makes it longer.
Yeah, making the pressure, making it longer, and the pressure it has to build up more pressure to push this lava more south. As far as today, from the helicopter this morning, there was no signs of Fisher 8 slowing down. I know the Fisher itself, the fountain and the spattering was a lot smaller, but the volume of the Fisher has actually increased this morning by also multiple flights of from the helicopter. The reports from the pilots, they have seen it, in fact, show more intensity. As far as as you can see, I posted a picture of earlier this morning of a flight, and as you can see, these perch walls were kind of right up to the brim, and it's actually a lot of places have there's a couple places that have breached over, and lava had extended probably 30 to 50 yards from the last time I know. So lava had breached over the perch walls and started to flow in that area. But as far as what's happening, nothing has changed. Still lava is pumping out of Fisher 8. Still very much active. And like I said, it's not slowing down. Another thing that we want to talk about tonight, there's a lot of stuff that came up today, as far as new photos, maps, and also some time-lapse video that Philip been talking about for almost a week, about these lava bergs that is flowing, or these boulders that have been floating down the lava river. So we're going to talk about that tonight to get everybody on the same page. And I know you guys been following us a lot. Mahalo, and that's all we're trying to do, just to give everybody the updates of day-to-day updates, and try to get everybody informed of what's happening in our community. So without further ado, I gave my update of what's happening on my neck of the woods. So we're gonna clarify it with Brother Philip.
All right, how's everybody? Well, the map isn't new today. It's actually from yesterday, but we can look at it again, like we've been doing every day, and kind of refer to what Ikaika was talking about. So we still have Fissure 8 as the main one over here, and 6 is shut off. I might have not mentioned that yesterday, but 22 and 16 are still going a little bit, although just spattering. Yeah, no
spattering. Is real small flow, like nosebleed kind of flow. So
right. Okay, so I mean those are still marked as being slightly active, but really it's all about 8. And the channel hasn't changed at all. You know, the little overflow that you were talking about, you saw from the air, was in the area of the Y, right? So
right up here, right on here.
Yeah, and it was kind of small, and so I mean we just to reiterate, you know, the whole system is kind of full and sloshing over the edges. But if it's small little splashes like that going over, as long as it's not get going, then that's all right. It's just strengthening, making that wall taller, building that levee higher and higher and higher. It's only like if like some huge amount of increase of amount coming out of Fissure 8 happens that it really can't hold all of it enough that it can have a big breach to really break the thing apart. These kind of all like little fluctuations within the same amount, more or less amount of volume come out as we think we've seen it. I think it's just going to keep sloshing over the edge a little bit here and there, and that should be okay. So it might actually grow on the edges a little bit, but probably not very much. It's probably doing that mostly within an area where it's already flowed. That's kind of how it strengthens itself, making itself taller and fusing. And then down here is the area of the active entry that I talked about, moving further and further south. So maybe it's gone down a little bit further since then. Right. So that's the map. We don't really have much to say new on the map. I think it's pretty steady, which is it's probably taking a break for today because of that. But speaking of the river, here's the time lapse which was released today. I'll start playing it by the USGS. And this is actually showing what they call lava boats, right? Moving down the river. So I'm sure you guys can find this under the USGS Volcano's Facebook page or on the actual HVO website under their multimedia and images. But yeah, you can really see there is pieces of the channel wall or the islands. There's more up here, breaking apart and floating down. And yeah, there's a good amount of them, right?
You can see, look the breaches on this side.
Yeah, it's a little spillover right there, yeah.
Look, another spillover there. So as you can see, there's a bunch of spillovers here. Let's see that spillovers. So this is you can see the lava boats going down. Not technically, it's just boulders that have been broken off from the islands and just floating down on the river. But if you look in this corner, you'll see some spillovers.
Yeah, there it is.
There it is. So this is what's happening because of the flows are there's so much volume coming out of Fissure 8 that these spillovers are happening all on the flow field.
Yeah.
So you know, that's what we've been watching and making sure that these flow fields don't go for an extended period of time and go into different subdivisions. So we want to get people pretty much prepared for what could happen.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we have noted that it's not exactly like all along the channel, but those especially those flat spots we're talking about is where it's going to be spilling over the most. So that flat spot, you know, people are sometimes referring to it as a lava pond or the lava lake by Fissure 8. That's really that upper section where it flattens out and kind of pools that first upper kind of ponding area, right? It's sometimes been called a pond or a lake, but it's really part of that river that's flatter where it's splashing over. So whenever it starts going a little further and cuts down the channels through the rapids, then it's basically cutting down more than it is splashing over. Then it gets that flat spot, slows down, kind of sloshes in there, and then it causes things to splash out of there. That seems to be what's going on as far as we can tell, yeah. Reports are that the views from Fissure 8 itself are mostly blocked nowadays. The fissure is still pumping, but it's all behind the cone, so you really can't see it in most places. Yeah.
So this morning, the fissure actually, the fissure, it has a mouth. So the mouth is approximately about 50 to 80 yards wide.
Okay, yeah.
And what was happening is the fissure was so strong and it was shooting all the lava out of the mouth instead of onto the walls.
So going more sideways.
Yeah, more sideways instead of vertical. And that's why we haven't been seeing
seeing as much fountain.
yeah, high fountaining. So
Yeah, but the volume hasn't been changed as far as we can tell. It's been putting out as much volume as ever, right?
yes.
Yeah. One thing that can happen is we talk about it, the hole where it comes out, think of it like a nozzle. So could it be that instead of being such a small hole also, that the lava has been moving through there and actually same thing, melting the walls a little bit, kind of widening it? And if that's the case, it's like when you put your finger over a garden hose, the smaller the hole is, the farther out it'll spray, right? So if you kind of widen that hole a little bit, and it's going to start gurgling out instead of spraying out.
Right.
So maybe we're getting to that kind of phase where it's doing more of that kind of
and so
gurgling out.
What we want to establish right now is we want to ask Brother Philip, and it's a question of mine also, and we talked about it last night about similarities of Fissure 8 and Pu'u'o.
Right. Yeah, so I think the visual resemblance is probably the most striking. Everyone is noticing, you look at the picture of Fissure 8 now and how it's fountaining a little bit within that cinder cone, and we have those classic images of Pu'u'o that look very, very similar to that. So that's an immediate resemblance we see, and that's probably the first thing that draws us to that.
Right.
Yeah, and as far as it being an eruption place which could erupt for a long time, we think of Pu'u'o being steady for that whole 35 years. But really, it went from 83 to 86, the high fountaining. Then it switched to Kūpaenaha from 86 to 92. Then it switched back to Pu'u'o on the west side. Then it switched to the east side. And then the actual place where it cracked out of the ground has changed quite a lot. We kind of group all of that together as a Pu'u'o era, right? But the thing has been changing every couple of years at most. Anyways, right? Maybe every most 6 years there of Kūpaenaha, right? So to think of it as a single place where it's going to come out of the ground 35 years is probably not exactly accurate. This probably wasn't for Pu'u'o either. But to think, every couple of years there might be a chance that something happens here. I think that part of it is true, right? That's a part as far as yesterday, as far as having to live with this thing, even if it shuts off this week. We can hope, but it's still going to be something that's going to possibly erupt next year or in a couple of years afterwards. The dynamics of the volcano are going to we'll be able to make better predictions than I'm just making right now, because we'll know how someone's going to deflate. We'll know how much magma is coming in. We'll know as it happens, kind of more or less what's going on. It's not going to be a huge surprise suddenly today it's going to erupt in a rift zone again. We'll see the same kind of pattern, inflation, earthquakes, and all that. But it could all, in the same sequence, repeat itself all over again in 2 years.
Right.
Or if it's not 2 years, it's 5 years. And if it's 5 years and you've been worried the whole time, is it really, that's something that certain people would have to consider if they're going to be living in the area.
So the possibility of Fissure 8 turning into Pu'u'o, there's a possibility.
Yeah, what I don't want to say is that it's going to last 35 years there, because most eruptions on a lower rift zone, the area where we are now,
it doesn't last that long.
Usually lasts months instead of years. There are exceptions. It could happen that way. We don't really know. I talked about yesterday also. But if I had to bet, I would bet on a few months, right? So that's
because it happened before. It happened with all the eruptions that happened on the East Rift Zone. It didn't last that long?
Yeah, most of the ones that we see, and we see that the history of even flows before people were here, the size of them and where they went, the ones they all cover each other eventually, so you can only see so far back.
Right.
But the ones you see, from all we can tell, have all lasted a few months. Because if they last longer than that, they build bigger and bigger hills where the lava's coming out. Right, the longer it comes out in one place, the more it'll pile it up, and then it leaves a bigger feature in a landscape that you can study after the fact. So we'll start off as that little cone as we imagined it, but now it's really like a big lava shield, right? The last time you flew over, saw it, this little cone sticking out of the middle of this lava shield. That's the true size of the amount of lava reflux that came out of there. Like Mauna Ulu is a similar thing, right? And Heihiahulu being closest to the lower east rift zone that we have, similar, that was a long lava shield. Now it's all forested and covered in trees, right? So it can happen. It's possible. There's that one example of Heihiahulu. There's Pu'u'o, but Pu'u'o is much farther up the rift, right? That means it's much closer to the source of the volcano. It's maybe not quite twice as far, but it's
it's 8 or 9 miles or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. So it's not even not quite as far, twice as far here, but it is quite a bit farther to get all the way to sustain it here for, let's say, 35 years, for example, right?
Yeah.
So, I would say that we're likely it's still a few months, but even after a few months, like how it happened in 55, eruption 55, and then 5 years later, in 1960, Kapoho erupted again.
Right.
So that could be that pattern. That pattern could easily be true, where it happens within 5 years. Right? So that's kind of what I'm trying to say as far as it could be the new Pu'u'o in a sense where it's a place where we're going to be worried about the ground cracking. Maybe not Fissure 8. Maybe not Fissure 8 on its own, but that area of all these fissures all together, however we decide to group them or call them all together or separately, you know, the whole area is now become active, basically. And as far as humans and our lives are concerned, it's active the rest of our lives.
Right. So, you know, that kind of answered my question. And I have a couple other things that we want to talk about. And we've, you know, there's some stuff, you know, about, don't want to get anybody scared or anything, but there's some new stuff that is happening on, we have some new cameras.
Yeah.
Check this out. We're going to show you guys some of the new cameras that came online. And these cameras are from Highway 130, the heat plates of Highway 130. So, hold on guys, right back.
All right, so show them the address up here, right?
So this is the address, guys. You guys want to go and look ops.punatraffic.com, and it shows. So this is Highway 130. This is where the plates are at. You see the heat that is coming out of Highway 130,
yeah,
and also
yeah.
to the left.
Yeah, so yeah, this one's color coded, and so if you look closely, it actually will tell you the maximum temperature and the minimum temperature of the colors in this graph, right? And then in that square, it's showing. Well, that just says it's P something, right? So they're basically telling you it's between 104 and 157. So
you know,
that's hotter than you know a regular road, obviously, but that's stable right now, right? So if you want to look for something changing, you can see, oh, if that thing gets to 300 degrees, then it got hotter, obviously.
Right.
Then why it got hotter, we can discuss that when it actually happens. But you know, if you guys, especially guys who are worried about these cracks in the 130, this is something we got to made aware of today, right? And we're not quite sure what the red lines are exactly, but that might be a heat sensor also.
Right.
Yeah, it's got some more temperatures up here as well. Yeah. 118, 120.
120. That's the heat temperatures right there, right now. So what was the 9:59, 10 o'clock?
Yeah.
So
I think so, they said every 3 minutes.
Every 3 minutes,
something like that. Yeah.
So if you guys on the lower part of Puna, this is a good website to go check out, because this website is the actual, you know, temperature of lava down in Highway 130.
Cracks,
yeah, that cracks. So
cracks, yeah.
So that would, you know, if you see any fluctuations, because you can see the temperatures on the top left of the screen. If you see any fluctuations, that's a good time to start planning for evacuation or something like that, you know. So that's a good place to go check it out.
Yeah, show them the website again.
Yeah, let's see the website again. So
yeah, punatraffic.com.
Yeah, ops.punatraffic.com.
All right, so yeah, that's our kind of lower rift zone update. We can talk about the summit next.
Summit.
Everyone wants to know about the summit, as usual.
Before we go to the summit, I'd just like to say again, if you guys just tuned in, we'd just like to say mahalo to the Hawaii Correctional Facility. The correction officers came today, donated their time and cooked for all the evacuees, and also played music for the evacuees and the people that were affected by lava. So they dedicated their time. Oh, it's so good, really good ono food. And also we're going to be having music every Friday and Saturday here for the evacuees. So I mean, we want to keep it a ohana and family atmosphere. And yeah, so we're back to the summit.
Yeah, so I posted the live of you guys playing earlier today. Yeah, so you guys.
And this is one of the ACOs. Brother Ricky, mahalo for coming, my brother.
So yeah, I posted some lives of you guys playing. Check out my feed if you want to see it. All right, so the summit. Here's our earthquake map today. We had our summit volcanic eruption, 5.2. That was at 4:34 today. So there, if you touch this, it actually will light it up at that kind of bluish color right there. That's where they located. So basically, at Hale. And the same pattern of earthquakes. You know, mostly up here. There's kind of a few down around, but not enough in quantity or grouped together in time that we're worried about it. This is the last day, by the way.
Well, we also had some earthquakes down here. Right on 130.
There were a couple down here. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Right over here. Yeah, but 1 and 1 is maybe not enough to worry about. Yeah. So look at our tilt plot, and it shows here yesterday's explosion, if we want to call it that. I keep saying when we call it that because, like, you know, now there's not that much ash coming out anymore, and they say that the explosion today maybe had 500 feet of ash come up, and I think of it more like it's almost like an underground, you know, kind of thing going on, where you might imagine if you're near it, you know, the ground is kind of shaking poof, like that, and all the blocks and pieces of the ground are all moving and settling around, and some gas is escaping somewhere, but it's not really shooting up ash in the air, so it's hard, and not much stuff is being thrown out, right? That's the kind of explosion we're talking about, you know, kind of a muffled one under that cap on the ground, and it's enough to release the pressure. Yeah. So, anyways, that's why I keep saying a so-called explosion or eruption, or, you know, it's kind of a hard thing to really label. I think at this point.
Broke the sequence again.
Yeah. So here I think that I'd be in something like 23 hours. And I think this last one might have been 25 hours, yeah, so, and this one was the one that was 30. So really, you know, this one I was thinking was kind of a little bit longer. It was longer, but it basically was a 1 or 1.5 off, 2 off, or back to where we were before now, it seems like. So that could be reassuring, you know. We're looking for any kind of change, and, you know, it wasn't something meaningful, at least not so far. It could keep fluctuating, you know, for the next week perhaps. We'll have to wait and see how it goes. But if something's changing, it's not changing very fast, that's for sure.
Right.
So yeah, that's our basically same story as the last few days, and I think unless you got more questions about the summit that we could talk about, that's probably it for the summit.
Let's see that webcam.
The webcam.
So this is Fisher 8 still yet, and you can see the river still very
pumping.
much active right now. So this was
half hour ago. I can reload it.
Half hour ago. 30. I see the view.
10:01.
10:01. Still pumping. And as you can see, you know what we were talking about, Philip, all these
yeah, look, there's pieces of crust right in there. You can see them. Yeah, there and there. Yeah, usually you can't see, it's usually so bright you can't see any of it. So that's interesting. You can see it now. Yeah, so there's another website I want to kind of point out to you, which just kind of relates to something mentioned yesterday. So this was the website of the Smithsonian Volcano Global Volcanism Program, right? And they put out a report every week of which volcanoes are erupting all over the world. So yesterday you were saying there were 7 volcanoes erupting at the same time.
Yep.
Here's a list of ones that have been active this past week. There's 18 of them.
18 volcanoes.
18 of them have been active in the last week.
Active in the last week.
Yeah.
So can we go over them all? Ecuador?
Yeah, so at the top they put the ones that have had new activity, so something new actually happened there, right? And you're going to see how Kīlauea gets classified as not something new, it's the same thing going on as before, is the way they classify it. So it's got to be something pretty, like a big explosion, a big change in how it's erupting, right? So yeah, in the last week we have Fernandina in Ecuador, Fuego in Guatemala, Great Sitkin in Alaska, and Ibu in Indonesia, right? Now, last year Fernandina also erupted, and so did Fuego, right? And so did Sitkin, right? So it's like new for this week, but like these things erupt all the time, actually, right?
Which one you think that was, you know, that hasn't erupted in Ohio?
Well, so I mean, maybe I haven't heard much about Ibu, but you know, we can look at every one of these. You can actually click on it, and it'll tell you more information about that particular history. So, Ibu said that during this week there was plumes that rose to 200 to 600 meters above the crater rim. They're at alert level 2, and there is their restriction zones, right? And actually it'll tell you like the history of the volcano, like more or less what it is. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you guys. And then like usually when it erupted, only a few eruptions have been recorded in historical time. The first, a small explosive eruption in 1911. It tells you right there. The eruption made a lava dome in 1998, right? So that's basically.
So that was the last time.
That's the last time this one has shown activity.
Wow, this is like, what is that, 20 years old?
Something like that, yeah. But that, you know, so Indonesia is, they're known as a land of 10,000 volcanoes. It's the whole island chain is all volcanoes. They're all over the place. So there's almost always 5 or 6 erupting at any time together, or at least on alert, right? So it's a different level of awareness of volcanoes. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to kind of get across.
Are all of these eruptions related?
They are not, well, they are loosely related in the sense that, you know, they're all part of the big plate on the Earth, right? But they're not all, the magma of any of these is not connected to the other. They're all separate magma conduits coming up. That's what makes a volcano its own volcano with its distinct name, which is the same issue we were talking about as Fissure 8 is not its own volcano, it's still Kīlauea, because it's still the same pipeline coming up through the volcano under Halemaumau. That hasn't changed, right? That's how we define volcanoes. So they're not all connected, they all have separate pipelines coming up. I can show you guys, let me pull up the basic geologic map of the plates and explain why they're connected. It's not usually the way that people imagine, so let me get the... So this is a basic map of the geologic tectonic plates on the planet Earth, right? And so this usually comes back to the question of this ring of fire is usually how we talk about it, right? And you know, before this map of the lithospheric plates, the tectonic plates of the Earth was put together basically in the 1960s, 1970s, right? Just to give you some idea. So before that, we noticed on a map, volcanoes were in a big ring, and that's where we got the term ring of fire. It comes from before we even knew about plate tectonics, right? So this plithonic plate is moving in that direction, and everywhere that it pinches, it's shown in these little triangles. So it's pinching there under Alaska, it's pinching there under Kamchatka in Japan, and there's a little, actually, extra little plate here. You get the Philippines, and there's Indonesia down there, New Zealand down here, all areas where it's pinching. So the plate's moving in this direction altogether. And because it's moving on this big scale, it's creating this piece of the Earth to go under that piece of the Earth. And that's why there's volcanoes there. There and there and there, all along there. So because they're all connected to this plate, they're all erupting, right? But they're not all connected to each other in a sense of the magma itself.
Because everything is just moving that way.
Yeah, so there's a common cause where this thing is all moving that way, right? And that happens to us also. We have our whole archipelago trail off beyond a hotspot because of that exact process. We just happen to be in the middle of it, not near the edge of any of this. So this idea of the ring of fire kind of being one feature in itself, it's actually just a pattern. It's a pattern of how it looks on the Earth because of the edge of the ocean and the edge of this tectonic plate, which is the Pacific plate that we're on. So I hope that makes sense. Like it's connected like on a grand, like the surface of the whole Earth kind of thing, But they're not. There's no magma between any of these places mixing with magma from any other of these places. Yeah. We can talk about more. We'll do more like kind of basic geology.
Anybody have any questions for myself and Philip?
So let me ask you this: how many volcanoes think erupted last year in 2017? Altogether, all year.
14.
30.
And right now we have 18.
So far 18. The year before, 2016, how many?
42.
34. 42 was the highest in the last 7 years.
That's right.
Since 2014. Right? But yeah, if you go back, it was 30 in 2017, 34 in 2016, 40 in 2015, 42 in 2014, 37 in 2013, 40 in 2012. 37, 2011, I stopped counting after that because you guys get the idea, right?
Right.
There's volcanoes erupting all over the world all the time, right? And I kind of think that most of us come to some point where we get aware of what's happening and then we start noticing all these different stories that come out. But also, like I was saying yesterday, we also report everything. Everything is reported. Even something in the middle of the Congo now, someone's going to see and take a video with their cell phone, right? So I just wanted to kind of just share that, as far as, it is striking to have 7 erupting in the same day. Absolutely, that's for one day unusual, right? But in the grand scheme of things, like there's volcanoes erupting all the time that you probably don't hear about. They don't make the story because they're not happening in the middle of someone's subdivision, right? They're happening on a remote island of Alaska, or a remote island in Indonesia, or a remote island in Kamchatka in Russia, So that's kind of the difference,
All right, guys. So, again, we're going to recap of everything what's happening on our East Rift Zone. Still, lava is still entering the ocean in Kapoho. Huge ocean entry. Plume is actually huge, pushing over the lower Puna area. Fissure 8 is still very much active. Rivers from the channelized flow, some parts of the area has been overflowing, and also the channelized rivers from Fissure 8 was pretty much high and right up to the banks. We've seen some reaches there, and yeah, so the summit has been kind of stable.
Yeah,
you know?
it's doing the same thing as it was doing.
Yeah.
It's still now exploding again every day.
Sorry, brought to you by We Gotta Chill Down for today. But other than that, that was our, and oh, before we go, I have one more special guest. John, come on over. So this is my brother from another mother, Brother John.
What's up, everybody?
So what did you see today?
Guys, the channelized flow that's coming down is massive. I don't see any shortage of lava coming out of Fissure 8. I saw at least 100, possibly 150 feet wide in the area that we checked it out, and I've never seen lava like that in my life. I've seen an awful lot of stuff, and there's just nothing to compare this to. I've talked to people who have seen the last 50 years of eruptions in Hawaii, and I'm hearing that nobody's seen any channels like this. This is something that's kind of unprecedented for modern times as far as what we've seen. I talked to someone who worked the Mauna Ulu eruption like every day, and that was some of the biggest flows that went down to the water in modern time other than Pu'uo'o, and he said that other than the first few months, it wasn't even close to comparable. It was just small little flows that came out over and over and built a shield. So I think we're in this for the long run, guys. That's just my prediction. I'm not a scientist, so you can gladly tell me I was wrong after all this is over, but I don't think so. I think we have a long time to go, and everybody that is in the path or has anything to do with being in the area that may be affected in the future really need to start thinking about making the proper decisions to relocate themselves, because all I can say is the best bet I have is that it's going to keep going for a long time.
All right, guys. Glad to have Brother John back on the team.
Make sure to keep yourself healthy. Everybody get a lot of rest, a lot of sleep, a lot of good food. I got sick. Make sure everybody complain to him, make him sleep from time to time.
Well, with that said, everybody, aloha everybody, have a good night. We'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll be going on in the field and collecting data and try to see if we can get some really good data for you guys tomorrow. Also, we'll be doing some updates tomorrow, and I'll be at the hub getting stuff. I mean, it was an awesome day at the hub, awesome evening for the people at the hub and also the evacuees and the people that were affected. Really good food, really good music. But with that being said, everybody, we'd like to leave you with this: stay classy, Puna. Aloha.